Another thing that I found super interesting, all their backgrounds, they didn't know much about the area.
We start people at green, 0. Then we morph them to who we need them to be. You literally like pick people for what they're good at naturally. Was it analytical? Was it just a feeling based?
We have everything we need. If we launch now, will it be successful? And we're like, even though we have such an amazing product, no one knows about it.
All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to episode 6 of Moments in Construction. We have David here, which is our intern at Prawdzik Properties. Unfortunately, we don't have Erica with us today, but again, we're going to do our best to rock and roll with 2 people and get through an agenda of questions for you guys, and talk a little bit about David's history, future, and present with the company, and his career development as he starts to develop more into the role, and exactly how he's going to be transitioning from internship into hire. So, David, welcome to the show. Again, I appreciate you coming on. Again, unfortunately, Erica's not able to make it, and I know you were excited to have her, but unfortunately, it's not going to happen today. But tell us a little bit about yourself. Let us know exactly kind of how you found the company, a little bit of background of who you are, what you like to do, what you don't like to do, kind of where your strengths and weaknesses are. So,
all right, cool. So my name is David Sarmiento, and I'm 17 years old. So I go to BCA, which is Bergen County Academies. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty prestigious high school in terms of like when I had to apply, it was an application process, an interview process, like an exam. It's ranked pretty high, like in public high schools in America. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty prestigious to get in. And senior year, they require us to get an internship, all our seniors. So this was in the beginning of 2023. I was looking for an internship, mm-hmm. and I knew I wanted to do something in the realm of business, real estate, finance, something in that area. So I told my mom, just like, hey, I'm looking for an internship, just whatever. If anything comes across, just let me know. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really think much of it. But she, at the time, worked at Wells Fargo, which is a bank that you would go frequently to. Mm-hmm. And it's just one day she just texted me on WhatsApp, and she was just like, hey, text this guy right now. And I was like, what's going on? Who is this guy? Why would I text him? He's like, oh, he's like an owner of a real estate company, and he said he would possibly be interested in hiring you on as an intern. Mm-hmm. So that's when I texted you, and that's kind of how it started, which is kind of crazy because just if you really think about it, like there's the chances of that happening is like so low. Mm-hmm. And like my mom would mention to me how she would talk to a lot of people, and a lot of them are real estate owners too and business owners. But she decided to talk to you for some reason, even though because she said that you would always walk into the bank, do your stuff, and then just leave. Wouldn't say hi. You just do your stuff and leave because you have a lot of stuff to do. Compared to like other real estate owners that they would just start talking to her and ask her how her day was. But she decided to talk to you, even though you're a really straightforward guy, and ended up happening, which is honestly such a great story. And it's been a year now. Mm-hmm. I would intern with you for every Wednesday, and that's kind of how it started.
All right. Yeah, the other guys were hitting on your mom.
Yeah.
I was in on her for sure. But all right, cool. All right, that's nice. Good to hear. Again, I remember vaguely. I know your mom doesn't work there anymore, right?
Yeah, she doesn't.
Yeah, she does. So again, you're right. It even goes to show further that how off chance something like that can happen.
Yeah.
Right. Like that specific moment, that specific conversation, maybe a thought triggered in her head to bring it up. And in the beginning, like I was very, I'm not gonna say dismissive about it, but I was like, whatever, like it is what it is. But then I thought about it more, like like she reached out, and then you started contacting me, and then your follow up. I mentioned this to you before. One of my tests, or one of the things I like to do, is I like to leave you hanging, or leave you like kind of in the dark, and see how often you follow up to see your desire and your want into something.
Right.
And it took you you followed up at least 4 to 5 times, which is great. I love that. Right. And I told Erica after a certain point, I'm like, let's do it. Let's reach out to him. Because I was waiting to see how many times the breaking point was. And eventually Erica was annoyed with me because she's like, dude, this guy's following up with us like 5-6 times. Like, what's going on? I'm like, okay, well, finally I think she reached out to you. I forgot exactly what happened with the series of events, but long story short, you came on the team, and it's literally been a year, right? Almost.
Yeah.
Right.
I wanna speak on that test because I remember it because so I was close to the deadline of when I needed to get my internship, and you were still like this internship was still like in the hanging. Like I didn't know if I had it or not. And I like remember pretty clearly because it was kind of a stressful moment because you would be like, all right, I'll contact you in 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks would go by. I'm like, hey, any updates on the internship? And you'd be like, oh, we need like another month because we need like discuss things. So I was like, all right. And then another month went by, and then it's just follow up after follow up after follow up. And I was like, it was like the last week where I'm like, I need to get an internship. So this happens. If this doesn't happen, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
And I guess it was a test this whole time, which was...
So if it wasn't us, who was it going to be? Or if it wasn't us, who else were you looking at?
I would have had to find a random internship on the BCA.
So you weren't looking at anybody, period?
No,
that's good. So how about even when your mom contacted you, you were like, you knew you wanted to do this?
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. See, like, I didn't know that. Yeah, that's great. I mean, that shows your commitment and your level of interest in it. And like I said, it's a subconscious test to see how really detailed and how diligent you are in follow-up, because that tells me your work ethic, and it tells me a lot about your personality, right? You don't take no for an answer, which is great. In terms of your career development, or in terms of your, let's say, career path or your interests, right? Has anything changed since you got the internship, or since you started the internship literally almost a year ago?
Yeah, for sure. When I first started, it was all about like real estate and like housing and all that. Not even just builds, more like rentals and flipping. But now it's completely changed. Like, I'm way more involved in the marketing, and I like see a lot more of the value in it. And like the importance of it when it comes to business and even real estate itself. I've been able to learn a lot with like marketing techniques and social media through you and Alan, which is great. So like since I started, it was really just, I was kind of small-minded and just like real estate, flipping houses and rentals. And then I feel like I've gotten a broader now idea of just what the world of real estate is, because there's so many things involved with it. Like I never even knew building homes or like development was even a sector of real estate, and it definitely is. So I would say that's how like my perspective has changed. Like now I see like the broader like avenues of when it comes to real estate, and I also like see the importance of marketing as well.
Okay, so not skipping too far ahead, and I want to talk about that in a little bit, about your development in terms of your, again, career path or the department that you're going to be working in and what you work in. But talking a little bit about your experience in the past, tell us a little bit about that story you told me with your home and your neighbor's home and all that kind of stuff, because I think that bred you to believe certain things in real estate when it first you started to learn about it.
Right. So I would say around like 14, 15, I wanted to be a veterinarian. And that was like kind of like my dream and blah, blah. But a lot of events happen in life where like I realized like I don't think 10 years of college is going to do it for me. Like I kind of need money now. Just because of like financial reasons with my family and all that going on. I won't get like into that, but so then it was during the pandemic, I would say, when I started like seeing like just like started researching more and like ways to make money, and then I got a little bit into the stock market, and then that's when Ethereum came out, so I was like investigating that, and then went down like a rabbit hole, and then fell into like real estate, started doing research on that, and then the house next door, which is our neighbor's house,
Wait, so hold on before you get there. So did anyone else in your influence of friends or your circle or your people you know or any person affiliated to you in any which way guide you towards that research or towards that discovery? Or is this 100% self-learned or self-directed?
I would say it was like mostly 100% self-directed.
Okay, okay, good. All right, so continue. So you're saying
because at the time, like I didn't have anyone like in the business space or in crypto. Like both my parents were just like working like regular jobs and all that, so they didn't really know anything about business or anything like that.
So you're saying once you dabbled and fell down a rabbit hole into real estate, the house next door to you, something with the neighbor, what happened there?
Yes. So the neighbor ended up passing away, and then they inherited the home, which is crazy because like that's kind of like what we're working with now with like inheritance, probates, and all that. So that's kind of what happened, and they didn't release it on the market yet. So we were like, we had money saved up from like years and years of working, my mom and my dad. So I had a little bit of money saved up, enough to like put a down payment to a house. But they didn't know what to do with that money. They kind of just were like, oh, let's just keep saving it until retirement. And then when I realized like this house is like up, not on the market, but they were interested in selling it, we decided to contact them before they even put it on the market.
That's the best. That's the best. Okay.
And it happens to be like that house right next to us. And then it took like a little bit of convincing of my mom, because obviously like years of saving up money and putting into like one deal, it's very stressful and very hard. But I ended up like convincing her, because I was like, look, this money's not enough for you to retire. You need to start, producing more money with the money you have now.
Yeah, let your money work for you.
Right. So I told her to jump on this investment, and the deal was really, really good.
Did you guys get a loan for it, or you guys bought it cash?
No, we put a down payment to it, and then we ended up getting a loan to it.
Okay, so tell me about how good is this deal?
Yeah, so based on like what our home was worth and what other houses were worth, it was a good $100,000 to $150,000 less than what the market was saying it was.
Good.
And there wasn't too much reconstruction that we had to do. Just like take the carpet out, repaint, maybe like a new kitchen, all that.
So when did you guys buy it?
22. I think it was, in 22, around July.
And it's fully rented now and everything's good?
Yeah, it's fully rented. So that was another thing. That was what also sparked my interest in real estate, was because I was somewhat helping with that deal. Like I was, like the driving factor of it. I wasn't doing any of the paperwork or any of like with the accountants or lawyers yet, because at the time I was like 15, 16. But I was definitely like influencing my parents, like, oh, like we should buy the house, we should do this,
smart.
we should do
That's
that.
very smart. 100%.
And then we decided to rent it. So that was another thing. I was like in charge of like basically like doing all the open houses and handling all the emails and handling all this like background information on these people. We did a good like 15 house tours with 15 families. And then we ended up narrowing it down to one, and he's still renting as of today, which is great.
Awesome. And then again, I remember having a very, very maybe brief or detailed conversation with you. I remember this, it was closer to the beginning of your internship, where we went to a couple networking events together. I remember explaining to you, again, money is money. Dollars are fungible. It's $1 here is $1 there. So I said, well, you have to understand that, yes, real estate is great, but if you had that much built up equity, you have to consider the opportunity cost of if you sell it.
Right.
Are you able to take that money and make tremendously more ROI somewhere else, which is possible, right? But then again, the convenience aspect of it, the value aspect of it, your LTV is probably super low on it. You have a renter that's paying, you're probably getting what, $3,000 to $3,500 a month?
Yeah, $3,500.
Yeah, see, so again, the market's for a house that's good, right? The only caveat is where you have taxes are very high, so that's where your ROI gets really sunken, right? It gets crazy low, but nonetheless, I mean, has your perspective changed now that you kind of been working and you have more experience and more, I guess, open-minded understanding in all avenues of real estate? How would you compare what you did there versus, or rather, would you have done anything differently knowing what you know about the company that you work with now?
All right. For this deal specifically, maybe I would have explored definitely a duplex.
Okay.
Because of 2 rentals. I don't know. I would have definitely done like the math more, and like maybe even if selling it would be a better deal or not. But I think at the time, just because it was like our neighbor, like happened to be the house right next to us, and it was like a great deal, a great time. I think I would stick with the same deal. And
what do you find more attractive, building or doing what you're doing? Or doing what you did rather there, just kind of lipstick on a pig, renting it out and calling it a day.
And compared to like what, building from scratch?
Building like what we do, yeah.
I think there's still more for me to learn in the building side of things. At the beginning of my internship, I was kind of like closed off. I was like, nah, building is like not for me. Like it's too much.
Okay.
But now like just seeing like the opportunities and just seeing a house go from like, a really not so good house to a really beautiful home is, a great process to see. And you have a lot of experience in like having that connection that like with building and all that. it's something that I might be able to use in the future and consider building my own house.
Do you feel like you've become more educated and knowledgeable around the financial underwriting or financial numbers behind any type of real estate project?
Yeah, 100%.
And how'd you get all that knowledge?
One of the biggest things was our weekly meeting that we have.
Okay.
You guys were like kind enough to do it on Wednesdays, which is the day I was able to intern with you guys.
That was a huge deciding factor, by the way.
Yeah. And it would be just a Google Meet call, and you would just train us on like all like the quote unquote basics of financing and real estate, which is what is the most important, because that without the basics, you can't really learn anything else.
Okay.
You can't learn any of the other advanced things. So 100% with like underwriting deals and just doing the math and doing the numbers.
So if there's one thing that stood out in your learnings, what would it be that you kind of remember, or that you took away from all those learnings? So again, from when time you started to now, we've had at least 35 to 40 different trainings, that maybe
Right.
you didn't attend every single one, but you were a part of. What would you say you learned that you took away?
Well, one of the biggest things, like in a broad aspect, it would be that it's not that every deal is not just like a simple like, oh, this is just gonna be a flip, this is gonna be a rental. Like there's still like, for me it was always, oh, I'm just gonna rent because why not, just make passive income, because all like all those gurus out there are always like, oh, passive income.
That's what they say.
And I remember super clearly, because my strategy when I was like 15 was like, oh, I'm just gonna get money, buy rental, and then with that money from the rental I'll buy another one. But you explained to me that process is too slow. And it makes perfect sense to me, because it's going to take you years to get to the next house. And then what you were mentioning is like in the beginning of like your career, just like gather as much money as possible, and then you can do rentals. Because for you, example, I know you did like rentals, 5 years into your business?
Yeah, more like 3 or 4, but
Yeah. So for me, that was one of the hardest concepts. I remember like I would always ask you questions about this, and like it would basically be just repeating the same question, because for me, I was like, why didn't you just buy rentals right in the beginning? And you told me that didn't make any sense, because you would have grown much slower than at the pace you're growing now. So that's a really, really big concept that I learned, was that the idea of just, it's maybe not the smartest thing to just buy rentals. Like it's okay to build homes and sell. It's okay to flip. It's okay to gather as much money and then put it into rentals when you have enough.
Okay.
So
the rentals are a different aspect of financials in the company.
Yeah.
Right. Rentals are the balance sheet. Flipping is your P&L. Right. So that's another thing that I always advocate and try to teach, is that there's a time and place for everything, and the balance sheet and the P&L is yin and yang. Right. You can't have one without the other, and you can't have the other without the one. Right. So in order to have a balance sheet, you need a strong P&L, and you need to have a strong P&L, you need a strong balance sheet. Right. So I'm glad that you took that away, because that was definitely one of the main driving points. And then aside from simple basics, like you said, about a P&L, like top line revenue, middle, your gross profit, operating expense, then you have your net. Right. So again, some people can't even grasp the concept of that, and they don't understand that you can say you have $1 billion, gazillion, trillion, $1 million in revenue. If you don't take any of it home and your net profit is zero, who gives a shit?
Yeah,
you might as well sit home and do nothing. Right? Now, granted, taking that with a grain of salt, because to run a $100, $200, $300 million revenue company is completely different than running $1 million company. Completely different mindset, completely different leadership, completely different structure. So that has some caveats to it. But nonetheless, and when you started, I remember when you started your internship, you were very much into like the financial side. Do you feel like through the learnings, through your development at the company, do you feel like you've transitioned to being more focused and more understanding, and or maybe you picked up and you found different strong suits within your personality and your talent base that you feel maybe work better to where you're doing now?
Yeah, I would say going back to marketing as well. Like in the beginning, it was only like really just like, oh, I want to be in sales, I want to do finance, and things like that. A lot of it was like, oh, I want to be like the boots on the ground kind of thing when I first started, because to me that's like the most fun part. But then I realized just the importance of like the behind the scenes things, like operations, because I know every Wednesday I'd go into the office, and I'd be with Brandon and Erica, and Erica's leading operations, and Brandon was at the time was I mean, he's still doing it, but like receipts and tracking and all that good stuff.
Finance.
Yeah, finance. So like that was super important for me to learn, was all the behind the scenes things, which is like really just the backbone of what the company is. And receipt tracking was one thing that, even though I found boring, I just was able to find out like the importance of it. And how you guys track like everything, even from like gas receipts all the way to how much you guys spend on the house.
So what was one thing that you caught that was important about it?
All of it, just understanding, like, because one big thing was cutting costs and just knowing how much you're spending, knowing if you're spending too much in one area and how to cut the cost down. And all of that's due to like just tracking the receipts. Because if you didn't know how much you spent on a home, then how are you going to know if you spent too much or too little on it?
Yeah, you have no baseline.
Yeah. So it's just understanding the numbers is super important, and that's all done through receipts. So that was one thing, was like that I never put emphasis on, and now because like of this intern, like I was able to learn that the importance is just the numbers and the behind the scene things.
Okay, so tell me one thing that you find maybe was a weakness that since you started the internship that you found out about yourself that maybe is not your strong suit.
Weakness. All right, so I like to consider myself a very like strategic person and creative person, like think of like new implementation, new ideas. So doing like clear cut things, like doing the receipts, was something that I didn't think was like my strong suit, because I just felt like I was kind of like enclosed, because I was like, oh, I can only do receipts. Like there's no like creative aspect to this or strategical aspect. It's just simply just looking at the receipts and putting it down in the Excel.
Did you ever feel like the internship wasn't for you at a certain point after a certain series of tasks or whatever?
I would say so. All right, so during the summer was probably one of the best times, because it was just simply just shadowing every department, which was extremely fun because I was able to learn so much from everyone. Like I was with Beto about the construction. He was able to show me and teach me about construction and how the process works. With Erica with like operations, Hugo with acquisitions, and he was able to show me around and how he like gets a deal and how all the phone calls that he had to make. I was able to go with you, and you taught me a lot about what it means to be a CEO and run a business. Alan taught me a lot about like the marketing, the behind the scenes and all that, with the Instagram and with the social media and with the mailers and all that. So that was a great time. But then after that, it got like to like the actual work, which is at the time I was like, thought of myself, I was like, oh, maybe I'm just doing receipts and just doing kind of what they're just telling me to do. And, you know, I mean, in my head, I was like, this is not what I want to do, but this is what I have to do.
Okay, yeah. True.
Because you guys gave me this opportunity, and I already, during that summer, I learned a lot. So because I learned a lot, now I need to help you, like, you know, put effort into the company, because that's why you hired me, so I can help the company and help in those, you know.
So how many months in do you think you've actually started to show value?
I would say towards December, January.
So what, 5, 6
It was like
in?
a good 4 months in, I would say. Because that's when everyone got comfortable with me, and I got comfortable with everyone in the business. And that's when you started giving me projects like, this is what I want you to do. This is what I want you to start and implement. And that's when I was like able to finally like get creativity and just strategy and do research on my own of like SEO and all that good stuff. And that's when I finally felt like I'm part of the company now, and I was able to help. And that was one of the best times.
Was there any moment in the company since you started or have been a part of it that stood out? Like best moment, worst moment, just a moment that stood out? Yeah.
So in terms of the actual fun, the best moment was the paintball.
Okay.
That was because that was a month in of you guys getting me on as an intern.
But that was still the summer of last year.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, okay.
But just imagine like a 16-year-old going out with a bunch of professionals and a business, and like I know like accountants
shooting the shit out of each other.
Yeah, accountants went, lawyers went.
Yeah, lawyers, accountants, the whole team.
So I was like, wow, this is I'm 16 years old and I'm doing all this.
Fucking
Is
35-year-old guy, 35 men
just
shooting
shooting,
at each other.
shooting people in paintballs. That was one of the most fun moments, and that, even though it's like all fun and games, it's like, if you really think about it, it was just one of the biggest factors of why I felt so comfortable with everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's truly like, it was because it was like a month in, I'd learned about everyone during that time.
I mean, shit, you shot me. I still have the fucking bruise. It's right here.
I told my mom after that, and she's like, "Oh, why would you do that? You're a month in, you're gonna get fired."
That's awesome. Dude, I couldn't see you. I lost both contacts. It was steaming. We were playing Shipment. It was basically Shipment from Call of Duty 4. Fucking steam. It started pouring rain. All that rain with the fucking sun started.
It was really foggy.
Dude, my goggles kept fogging up. I lost both my contacts. I couldn't see shit.
I'm gonna be honest.
I hunkered down the corner.
I didn't know.
I'm like, fuck this.
I didn't know who I was shooting at. I just turned the corner. I saw you facing somewhere else, and I unloaded everything. I know I shot you like with 5 bullets.
Dude, it ran me right down my arm. I remember that.
I was like, oh, no doubt.
The one that got bruised is the one that hit my bone. Oh my God, that hurt like a bitch forever, for a long time.
Yeah, so that was one of the best times, and just truly one of the best places, and to just learn about the team. How can you learn better at shooting than shooting someone?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but still, you get you got the overarching point was team culture building.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it's a team event. We collaborate with other teams. The attorneys, the accountants went like. Yeah, we mean business when we mean business, but it can't always be about that. It has to be about play.
Yeah.
Like, you got to take people out, and you have to always try your best to host events. I mean, there's tons of companies that forget about that, right? At the end of the day, you have to enjoy what you do in order to work the amount you work, right?
For sure.
Like, everybody we work with is pretty much a workaholic, right? They try, I mean, at least most of them where I try to believe so. But if you're expecting to work 12 hours, 14-hour days, you better like what you do, right? And again, there's that time for play and the time to, the fun part, right? So I'm glad that you mentioned that, because again, I always try to take it like have fun. At the end of the day, it's like, there's a certain point in business cycle where you start to actually turn a profit. You start to actually make, good enough net margins where you can reinvest back into the business, and it becomes very fun. As long as you could data track and, like you said, have a baseline to say, oh, shit, look, we grew 30% since last year. Or, hey, our revenue went up 50, but our net profit only went up 15. Why is there a delta of that big? Where do we spend more money than we needed to, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, there's 2 ways to grow any business, right? You either do more business or you spend less money.
Yep.
Ideally, you want to do both, right? I always preach that the more operationally efficient, which is spending less money and being more operationally efficient, is probably the best way to go about it, but it's not always the only way, right? So, you talked a little bit about your real estate journey. You talked a little bit about your growth. You're turning 18 in 10 days ish.
Yeah.
Right. So, happy birthday, early birthday.
That's
for that.
another thing. The team has mentioned it to me, and I feel it as well. I feel like I've been 17 for so long, just because this year I was able to do a lot of things. I got an internship, then I got a job with you guys. I also worked at Chick-fil-A for like 4 months. Quit that, all in the span of being 17. I was a senior. I was drove a lot. I could talk about it later on, but I drove a lot in my own business because I'm starting a startup with a friend. I was able to really focus on that. So all of this during 17 just felt like it's been so long, even though it's only been a year, which is honestly amazing.
The 17 and 20 are the longest years.
Really?
Because 18, you could finally get drafted, and then 21, you could drink.
Right.
Illegally. I mean, I'm sure most people drink before then, but yeah, still, those are the longest years. After that, it's a blur. You forget about it. And then 30 hits, then that's a big year too. And after that, it's a blur again until 40, and then the 50. So
milestones.
Yeah, it happens so fast.
Yeah.
But okay. I mean, you told us a little bit about the real estate. You told us a little about your journey. Tell us a little bit about, again, not really company relevant. I want to change up the topic a little bit. Tell us a little bit about the startup you're trying to do.
Yeah. So I started one 2 years ago, and it was the same reason. It was just the idea of needing money now.
Okay. So before you do that, what sparked the interest? What sparked the interest in it?
Yeah. So it was the same. It was probably in that rabbit hole of things that I was going down with like stock market, business, real estate. I was just like exploring whatever avenue I can. And one of the biggest thing was just starting a business with like a product and like selling it on Amazon. And at the time it was like super, super popular, like Amazon FBA. And so I contacted my friend. I was like, screw it, let's just start a company. Why not? And we had time on our hands at the time because we were like sophomores. So we're like, let's screw it, let's just do it. And it's probably a whole year just thinking of the idea. Because we want to start a new product that was different from what we've seen, something that can actually help people and improve. And what it is basically a modular furniture that replaces like all the IKEA dressers and replaces all the like those big furnitures that you see.
Nightstands and stuff.
Yeah, all of that. It replaces all of that with one modular thing that you can connect with each other so you can build your own design. Surprisingly, with like research like online and everything, we couldn't find anything similar to it. So we're like, this is the opportunity. So then from there, we've just grown it to where we are now. We're like launching a Kickstarter soon, but we've put in a lot of effort. Like I would say a year and a half all on this Kickstarter. And one of the biggest things that was leading it is marketing. So at the time, we were always thinking about like logistics and like with the actual product and the design of it. My friend told me, he's like, hey, like I'm super proud of the website we built. I'm super proud of the product that we have, yet I feel like marketing's lacking. So I was like, oh, I think you're right. And then that's when I went down the rabbit hole of marketing.
And what triggered that I think your marketing is lacking thought? Or was it analytical? Was it just a feeling-based decision?
It was both, because we were like, okay, so we have everything we need. We have all like the product itself. We have like the Kickstarter built out. If we launch now, will it be successful? And we were thinking about it. We're like, well, I don't think it will, because even though we have such an amazing product, like this, no one knows about it, right? And this is it was like an idea. I was like, well, this is why I feel so passionate about marketing, is because in my eyes, you can have such an amazing product, but if you have no marketing behind it, no one's going to be able to see it. No one's going to be able to see the amazing product you've built. On the other hand, you see on the market really stupid ideas, really stupid products that do really well because of their marketing. You see them all over TikTok, like really just, not maybe dumb or stupid ideas, but like maybe really small little things that help you there and then. But you see them all over Instagram, all over TikTok. So it was like, wow, the marketing is one of the most important things. Yeah. And that's when I was like, all right, so now let's focus. Now that we have our product and like the website built out loud, let's focus on marketing. And that's when we started building Facebook ads. Affiliate marketing was a huge one. So what
in the marketing you feel like separates good marketing from bad marketing? Not good or bad, wrong words. Effective, non-effective.
It all comes down to like the numbers. If you're spending a crap ton on marketing and you're not getting a return on it compared to what you spent, then it's not good marketing.
Well, yeah, that's the analytical part. Right. But I'm saying, in your opinion, when you look at two pieces of content, what differentiates good from bad, effective versus ineffective in your eyes? Because that's the caveat, is every person's different. But in your opinion, what makes a good marketing or marketing content good? Is it the quality? Is it how it's said? Is it what's said? Is it in a fashion it's said? Is it who's talking? Is it how he's talking? With the product?
Yeah.
What is it?
When it comes to like for me, like the product, it's just showing why the audience needs it. Okay, and why it's important and what's the use of it and how you can replace what you have now. Because with our product, it's something that people don't know that it's an issue. They think like, oh, this huge dresser that I have, it's the norm. It's like what everyone has, so it's not an issue. But what we want to do in our marketing is to show like what you have is an issue, like because it causes disorganization, it's expensive, it's heavy, it's not customizable. Like, so we want to show like the bad side of what they have now, because they don't even know what they have is wrong, and then showing our new product and how it's going to benefit them.
Okay. And do you feel like you have a well-detailed and well-organized message, customer base, target customer,
Yeah.
in your startup?
Yeah, for sure. So, we already like know like our target audience in terms of, like it's gonna be like lower to middle class because our product is definitely on the cheaper side, and it's one of the biggest parts was that you can save money on it compared to buying a huge furniture. Because like let's say you want a really nice furniture like to surround your TV, that like it's gonna be like $800, $1,000. For our product, it's gonna be like $200. So you save a lot, and it still looks modern. So like our target audience would be like the lower middle class, apartment buildings or houses who don't have closets. Another really big thing was that for the house that we bought, surprisingly, it didn't have closets. So there was like a huge lack of like storage space, and I was like, wow, like my product would work perfectly here. So we're like targeting towards like people who, college dorms who don't have space, apartment buildings who just need more room, more closet space, more storage space, and all that. So
Okay. How far do you think the idea is going to go? Because right now it's just an idea with a
Right.
Kickstarter.
Right.
How many sales do you have?
We don't have any sales yet.
Okay, so it's an idea with a Kickstarter. So
Right.
how far? What's your vision as to where it's going to go?
Okay, so my idea was, I'm gonna get a little nerdy here, but like building as much potential energy as possible, and then converting that to energy. So potential energy, what it is, just like building as much from behind the scenes, like building as much marketing things, making sure the product is super well done, making sure the Kickstarter is all well done, so that when we launch, it's gonna be a big launch.
Okay.
So that's what we've been working on for a whole year. And one of the biggest things is like the affiliate marketing that we're doing. Currently, we have 7 employees that are right now trying to find us affiliates. We've built an in-house program on Discord. We did Discord because I believe it was like the most effective in terms of like communication with the affiliates. So what we're doing is that these 7 people are hiring just a massive team of affiliates, like professional marketing who are looking for commission, because right now we don't have the funds to pay them up front, but if we pay them commission, then obviously like we don't lose anything.
Yeah, you don't.
Because if they don't make any sales, then we don't have to pay them.
Yeah, of course.
So they're building a team of like 3,000 to 5,000 affiliates that we're all gonna have in our program, and that's gonna be our lead marketing strategy.
So I could talk about this forever, and I have my own 2 cents on exactly the strategy you're trying to impose and how you want to blitz the market and stuff like that. But in terms of kind of circling back to your team, company Prawdzik, do you feel like you can apply any of the things that you have learned and or applied for your startup here in terms of the marketing side?
Yeah, for sure. In terms of like, let's passion, like my passion for like my company and like all the marketing stuff has definitely like also like I can see that passion in Prawdzik Properties as well.
Okay.
Like I really love the marketing. I really love driving the sales and doing all those like behind the scenes marketing and just building up a new idea. Like for my company, it was like building like the affiliate program, and then now with Prawdzik Properties, like building a new marketing strategy. So like that passion I see very similarly, and for me it's not work, like it's fun. And
Seeing it grow, yeah.
and one of the things I told you before you hired me was like, you need to tell me everything because I want to feel like it's mine as well.
Yeah, of course. That's the beauty of it.
And that's one of the most important parts of CEO is making sure your employees know the vision of the company.
Yeah.
So that they know that it's their company too.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you were an intern on financial calls, knowing what the company makes, where it loses, where it makes, what the revenue is, what the net profit margins are, what we spend money on.
And that transparency was 100% really effective because now the team feels like we're all working together as one piece to grow it all together. It's not just like we're working for you. It's more like we're all working together. And like when you said in the beginning, that's something that's always stuck to me is that we don't work for you, you work for us, which is like such an interesting idea. And it's been so effective. So just that idea of like how I feel like when I work on my business, it doesn't feel like work. That same feeling I get with Prawdzik Properties, like it doesn't feel like work when I'm doing all these things.
Yeah, because it's growing. It's
yeah.
You're data tracking, you're growing it, you're showing that you're capable of doing something, and it becomes exciting. I mean, when a team goes from 1 person to 2 people to 4 people, 4 people to 8 people, clear as day, it's either something's going right? And the more people you get involved, the hardest part is to maintain the culture, maintain that transparency, maintain the workflow, right? Because I can only be in it so much, right? So I try my best to implement and kickstart a bunch of things to say, hey guys, this is your baby. This is what I know up to this point. Take it over from here and figure it out, right? And everybody has their own level of assignments. Yep. Everybody has their own accountability. And again, you're absolutely right. Telling everybody everything is always the goal, right? Because everybody needs to feel like they're a part of a team, right? Because this is not like, I work more than anybody. I take the most stress, the most bullshit, the most garbage, make the least, and I still show up to work every day. Right. So again, it's never just about working for some individual. It's about working in a team. And you're not the only person that feels that way within the company. There's plenty of people that feel that way. Right. So it just motivates me to say, like when things are shit, because they always get shit. It's a never ending revolving door, right? You're just shittier times get more important and bigger, right? Like what I stressed about 2 years ago, I will never stress about today. Like it's just peanuts. But then like the last time I stressed, I remember like I broke down crying because it's serious. It was like shit, like I don't know what to do, whatever. And the next level is going to be the same kind of pressure point. Right.
And I think one super important thing that I feel like in the future I'm going to be able to see more clearly is having you like as a mentor in business and real estate. Because now when I start my journey with like either my own company or start my journey with like my real estate, like I'm gonna be able to have you to tell me like if I have an issue, I can come to you because you have just so much experience and you've gone through it already. So maybe like you could definitely help me and for me not to repeat the same issues that you had.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like the saying goes, a smart man learns from his mistakes. A wise man learns from other people's mistakes. Right. So that's the very important truth. And to your point, I always try to teach. I'm never scared for anybody to take what I know and or know about a company and use it to their own benefit somewhere else, right? So I'll never hold back information or the company. I try not to, and I try to breed this onto anybody. It's like the beauty of hiring A players is that A players want to work with A players. And I think that we've done I talked to Eric, I talked to Hugo, I talked to Brandon, I talked to Beto, I talked to Vin all the time. Like I say, hey, well, how do you feel like this person does? Or what do you feel like intuitively without even knowing anything about this person? Like what's the feeling you get, right? And I think that we hire A players all the time.
Yeah,
right?
I completely agree.
My process of elimination is very fast because if I ask you a series of questions and they're sometimes silly, but if like you don't answer them appropriately, I automatically rule you out. It might be not the best thing to do, right? But again,
it's worked because right now like the team that like we have is just they all work together. They're all like it's like a family that just wants to grow all together, and it's just seeing all the different departments like interconnect and like work with each other, all to just complete one project is amazing to see.
Yeah, and the team events are always fun as well. Like that also tells you morale is high. Yeah. Right. Again, there's times where stress. Yeah, it's a business. It's a business cycle, right? We're not here for charity. When shit's going south and company loses money or we're spending more than we need to in places, like shit needs to change. Period. Like this is not a personal endeavor. This is not a charity event. If we're losing money, we're either not making enough or we're spending too much. So we need to pivot. If we don't pivot, we're gonna fucking die.
But those things like at the time they feel like horrible and it's like what are we gonna do? But then after the aftermath, it's always better. Yeah. The company always grows. The team always grows because like when you mentioned, I wasn't working at the time, and I'm sure like the team was a lot smaller. But during COVID, you guys were able to survive through COVID, and now like I remember like even recently, you'd always say like, "Hey, if we survive COVID, we could survive this." Yeah. So it's like I don't see it as a failure, but more as a learning opportunity. Yeah. Again. So every time like things go south, it's just the idea of like holding that optimism that it's all gonna end up okay and even better than what it was before.
Yeah, I always say my thing is like, what's the worst that can happen? Even then, you die. So if you're not dying, it's not that bad. Right. It's really not that. Every problem has a solution. It's really not that fucking bad. Right. So to my point before with the A players, you have to accept the fact that A players will either eventually start their own thing and or grow within a company. Right. Sometimes what they do is they grow their own thing, they realize it's not for them, and then come back or go somewhere else. But there's the difference between an intrapreneur and an entrepreneur, right? It's okay to be a part of a bigger team and not take the risk and be an entrepreneur, right? You can like you're saying, there's plenty of people like that they're just okay, right? They want to grow, continuously grow. We pride ourselves in continued education, right? We always make sure that the team, every department is at least taking some type of classes, courses, reading some type of books every time. I mean, I push this on, for as simple as even construction. Beto and Vin take at least 2 classes a quarter, and I have them take 2 separate. So in total, they take 4 classes effectively. Vin takes 1, Beto takes 1, Vin takes 1, Beto takes 1, right? On top of reading books, on top of trainings and all that stuff. And again, this is all done on their own time from like 6 to 9 p.m.
Yep.
Right? So they give a shit about their development.
Yeah.
Right?
That's another thing that I found super interesting when I first joined the team was like all their backgrounds were like they didn't know much about the area. Yeah. Like I know like Erica came from like pharmaceutical or medical. So there's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, Vin was software, construction.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
like, we start people at green, 0, because then we morph them to who we need them to be. Yeah. But the beautiful thing is like when you get a set of fresh eyes, fresh talent, you literally like pick people for what they're good at naturally. And then you just put them like, oh, you're good here. And that's exactly what we did with you. Speaking about the marketing, I'm like, okay, well, David loves finance. David likes this. He talks about real estate. He seems ambitious, but like there's something not it. So it took me a while to figure it out, but I'm like, okay, maybe you can just go here and try this, right? And I've done that multiple times with many people, right? Like taking one person, putting him here, doing that, putting him there. Okay, that doesn't work, maneuvering, like being able to adjust, right? Yep. So again, A players with positive talent, good work ethic, wanting to grow, being a part of a bigger team, being a part of a bigger purpose, will always figure it out and always make sure that they're able to figure out ways to maneuver within a company and grow. Which leads me to my next point. What kind of excitement, or what's exciting you about the growth in the company and or in the marketing team now that you're a part of it? Like either for the near future, for the distant future, what's kind of your vision, or what are you most excited about?
So since I first joined, I've had like the opportunity to see like how fast and how our marketing is changing, which is amazing to see and amazing to be part of. Because like when I first started, we had like, for example, cold calling, and now we don't. And now we're like moving into like a new sector of marketing. And I feel like since I've joined, like we've been able to like really start focusing on marketing, really drive it, which is super exciting because now I'm gonna be able to be a part of that and like grow like really fast in the marketing. And like even physical numbers. Like when I first started, our Instagram was, I don't know, it was like 4,000 maybe.
That's 12, 11 and change.
Yeah. And like in the beginning, I told you a lot. I'm like, oh, like the Instagram. Like we haven't posted in 2 months, the Instagram. And thanks to Alan, like that Instagram has grown to like 11K now, which is just amazing to see because that's like a physical number that you can truly see.
It's a KPI, yeah.
Yeah, and a number that even the outside world can see, like, oh, Prawdzik Properties is growing. And just seeing how we've grown in that year, it's like excites me for like now, like the next what has to come now. Like,
do you feel like what we're doing now is more efficient and more effective, or potentially setting up the pace to be more efficient and effective than it was a year ago when you first started?
Yeah, 100%. Because like I don't know, I feel like I like a year ago when I first started, it was like clear cut. Like we had cold calling, we had mailing, and then a little bit of the Instagram. That's it. Now I think we're exploring more avenues, and it maybe at first is gonna seem like we're taking maybe a little dip because we may have taken a break on the mailers. We kind of stopped cold calling, but what we're actually doing is trying to different avenues, which is really important when it comes to marketing. Is just like adapting to like the market and just optimizing everything. So now we're trying different avenues, and I think one of these avenues is really gonna take off. Is gonna be a big factor for marketing.
Yeah, I mean, it's all, and the decisions were all analytical. It was very calculated, right? We sat down, we said, this is not generating money. Again, like you said, rip the Band-Aid off, cut it out. Yes, it's been 9 months, it's been 12 months, we haven't generated what we want to do. Maybe it's the team, maybe it's the people we hired, maybe it's the strategy. Whatever it is, it's not working. Let's double down on what is. So we're going to pivot and go into mailers, right? And we drastically maneuvered into mailers, and into more of a social presence. But again, to your point, in the marketing, we are very cut and dry, which means we know our core customer, we know our core messaging, we know our target audience, we know everything in its specific sector. So we can tailor a specific marketing avenue to exactly what each core customer, each message is, right? So I'm glad you're excited for it. I'm glad that the career development is something that you're looking forward to. I'm glad that you feel like you're a part of it, right? That aspect of the human aspect of growth is the hardest part, getting people to buy into something, right? Because there's plenty of times where people, again, I'm a CEO, I'm just a fucking grown-ass babysitter. That's all. I just navigate people's emotion and making sure that they stay the course as to what they're doing, because at the end of the day, they see one lane, but I see 12 lanes, and each person is a lane, right? So it's like, okay, well, there is a vision here. You just need to do this, and you put your own twist to it because it's yours. But do this, and this is what I'm thinking the end result is. You will get there, and I promise you, when you look back a year, you're like, oh shit, like it worked.
Yeah, I think that's another thing. Like when, like my business is really, really small, but because of it, I think a lot about like future ideas and future implementations, and I'm always like thinking like how different avenues and everything. And I feel like that was one of the biggest things of why it was so easy for me to buy into the Prawdzik Properties idea of like the company, because it was like, well, like imagine like me as a CEO, like in a really, really small company. Now imagine like where you are with a really big company.
And listen, we're not even shrimp, we're plankton of the sea. Like there's behemoths,
right?
Yeah. There's fucking behemoths making trillions of dollars, right? So it's like that literally puts like levels to it, right? Like I just had a dinner, and I'm going to summarize a little bit, but I had a dinner with a guy that just sold a tech company for 1.1 billion with a B after 30 years on the dot, right? So he purposely postponed his sale because he started May 13th of 1993, and then he sold May 13th, 2024.
Wow, the same day?
The same day. He purposely said, I want to close on this because it's going to make exactly 30 years, right? Long story short, he told me, he's like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? You want to make $500 million a year or revenue? Great. People have done it before. You're nobody different. You want to make 500 billion? Great. Somebody's done it before. You're nobody. What needs to change is you need to create a proprietary process, a proprietary software, a proprietary messaging, a proprietary something that's going to make you stand out. And either A, internally use it to scale your company to a next level, or B, sell it and commercialize it, right? And again, he was in a tech space, right? So he was big into just like commercializing a software. So he basically told me, like, listen, you could be doing 100 trillion gazillion dollars of revenue. You're nobody, because somebody will eventually do it, and or someone has already done it, right? So you're just whatever. It is what it is. You're just the next guy that makes some money. That's it, right? So the goal is to be part of a team, Prawdzik, right? Be something proprietary, even if it's internally proprietary to us. You know, the emotional feeling, the connectivity with the team, the process, the workflow, the customer experience we give, the warranty process that we give, how we're changing the game in terms of the marketing, how we're changing the game in terms of the customer satisfaction that we provide or pride ourselves in providing, our core values, right? All this stuff that we try to really, really hone in on and really, really make it so that way people know, like, oh shit, like that's what they do for us, and then spread the word. And then eventually, not only will our marketing kick up, and not only will the marketing grow because we're putting effort into it, it'll just by nature grow because we have so many more referrals.
Yeah. For me, like when I think of marketing, I think it's like a snowball. Like we're right now like rolling this snowball, like, and as soon as like it hits a certain point, like it's just gonna roll on its own, like down the hill, and it's just gonna keep building more snow and more snow.
And the goal and the key is that snowball is gonna roll on every single customer type we have, on every single marketing avenue we have, right? But the goal is to really hone in on 2 or 3 things that you want to do, and only do those once the data shows that those are the things that work.
Right.
So anyway, to summarize, kind of to wrap this up a little bit. So again, you're in marketing. I'm very happy that we offered you a position. I'm very happy of your development in the last year. Being in marketing, you're excited about the growth. You're excited about the team collaboration, the growth there, the strategic repositioning and or new positioning that we have, whether it's a new strategy or old strategy. Again, give me one sentence. If you were to summarize one thing that you are absolutely most excited about, and or something that you want to have the audience take away from this whole either A, podcast, B, your involvement with the team, or C, how you feel like the company is going to benefit them? What would it be? One sentence.
I had like multiple words. Like
Go ahead. So multiple
one
words,
is
whatever.
don't underestimate a small opportunity, I would say.
Okay.
Like at the time, like it was just a small little number that I had to call. It was just, my mom just sent me a number and all I had to do was just call. And then just from that call, it's grown like all of this. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, even though you may not be able to see the big picture, it's always just try, always, seize that little opportunity because you never know what it can grow into.
Okay.
What I'm most excited for is really just 2 words, the future.
Okay.
And in terms of like the future of Prawdzik Properties, the future of like the marketing and Prawdzik Properties, like my future in terms of like how I grow in the company, how I grow as a person, that's like all super excited. And I feel like right now, the team, myself, we're like in a season of just growing and just growing the team, growing our marketing, growing all of it. So that's like really, really excited for the future of just like all like the new opportunities that we're going to get, the new implementations that we're going to start.
Mm-hmm. And how's that going to benefit the customer? How do you feel?
Well, we're going to reach way more customers. And then from there, they're going to be able to refer to more people, like you said. And it's just going to keep growing from there. Mm-hmm. And with marketing, like once we grow the marketing, then we grow like every sector of the business. I feel like really like for me, like marketing is like the base of the company. Because when we get more sell to us, like when people sell us houses, then we're able to build more houses, then we're able to sell more houses, make more money, and then using our marketing, it's like a cycle.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I mean, and by making more money, you're able to provide a better experience.
Yeah,
right.
And just being part of that is amazing.
Yeah.
So just the future, just like really excited for like how I'm gonna grow, how the team's gonna grow. Because like you said, I joined the team when it's still like somewhat small, and I know you have a lot of plans to grow it. And I'm excited to see what your plans are and how the team grows and how I can say like, oh, I was one of the OGs. I know there's like the OGs like you, Alan, and Hugo, but I'm still gonna be like part. Like I feel like I still joined when the company's quote unquote small.
Oh yeah, I mean we're still small.
Yeah, and just being able to be seeing it and be able to grow. Another thing is like all like the connections and that I've been able to make. Like I'm still 17 and I've met very interesting people. I met very rich people, very smart people. So like learning from all of them is just super exciting.
Do you feel like anyone else in your school and then last question, that's a promise. Do you feel like anyone else in your school would have ever was ever exposed to an opportunity like you had?
I don't know much about their story. I know some of them are like in really good businesses and all that, but I don't really think about what they're doing because I'm just really focused on like what I'm doing, and for me, it's just like, I don't think I could have found a better opportunity than this.
Good. Awesome. I mean, that's a great way to end this. So again, to wrap up, happy birthday. I know that's in 10 days. Like I mentioned, you're also graduating in 14 days-ish.
Yeah.
Right? So plus minus. So that's kind of coincidental how your birthday's on your graduation as well, or close to it. But anyway, so everybody, thank you for joining us on the Moments of Construction episode 6 with David, our previous intern, now a part of the marketing team as associate brand ambassador. And he's going to be, again, killing it. Again, thank you, everybody. And that is a wrap.